Matt Stepp, Dave Campbell's Texas Football here at the DFW Coaches Clinic, and I'm talking to a guy who drove a little bit of a ways out from El Paso, Texas, Coach Mike Pry, the El Paso Coronado Thunderbirds. Coach, appreciate your time and chatting with us.
Absolutely, thank you.
All right, first off, Coach, like I mentioned, a little bit of a road trip for you and your coaching staff to come out here. El Paso is not close.
No.
Love El Paso, but it's not close to Dallas. Why the DFW Clinic, and why is it such a good clinic?
This is a great clinic because there's so many speakers, there's so many range of things you can learn. And it was really good for us as a staff because we stopped halfway in Odessa, Permian, and met with those guys and clinic with them on Thursday. Came in early Friday morning and met with the guys at South Lake, and they were really hospitality to us and took care of us. So, it's good for us to get out and see different schools and see how they do things as well.
And take a few nuggets back to El Paso with you and just kind of put some extra tools in the toolbox, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Now, when you're at clinics, I believe you're an offensive guy by trade. So I always like to ask guys this: when you're an offensive guy, do you like to listen to other offensive guys talk? Do you want to hear defensive guys talk and kind of hear how they're kind of trying to attack the offense?
I think it's a little of both. You pick kind of what you do and listen to those guys, and you kind of get some defensive aspects as well, so you know what's going on their side. So it's a little of both. And for me personally, it's more administrative stuff. I like to come talk to other head coaches about how they practice schedules and things of that nature. So a little of both.
And then your coordinators, now when you were a coordinator, did you want to hear the other side of the ball speak, or were you more interested in
I did a little of both.
Yeah.
And you kind of want to see what what the defense is coming up with and how they're attacking certain things, but then you also want to get some more ideas for offense as well.
So I'll always put a few extra things in the playbook, right?
That's right.
Now for you guys, I think you're at your alma mater. You guys have done a good job, kind of getting the arrow pointed in the right direction.
Sure.
In the last couple of years, you guys have been just right on the brink of getting into the playoffs. Close losses here and there in a couple of different seasons kept you guys out of the playoffs. And we were talking, you guys are kind of pushing that rock up the mountain, but now you got to get it over the top of the mountain. Right. What do you think that the difference is going to be in 2025 to try to get your kids to make that next step?
I think it's some of the returning kids we have coming back that are very hungry for success. Our off season is going well so far. They're up in the morning early. They're working hard, holding each other accountable. And I think it's just a couple of small things that we need to tweak to really get to where we want to be.
Those margins, especially when you're a good team, you're playing other good teams. Those margins are so small, right? Like one play can make a difference. So is it one of those things where you talk to your guys about, hey, one extra rep, let's not slow down on that last sprint. Let's that last rep in the weight room. We got to finish strong and kind of make that difference, kind of get that mentality, right?
Yeah, for sure. Last year our offseason motto was 1 point, and this year you're right. We just kind of got to get the rock over the hill and have a little bit of taste of success, and we'll be there.
And then looking at your ball club in 2025, tell us kind of every year you always lose a good group of seniors, and you got to replace those guys. There's very few teams that have 11 and 11 back, so you always got to replace some positions. What are the positions that you're looking for some young guys to grow up this offseason to step up in? And maybe what are some areas where you feel good? You got some experience coming back and you're feeling good about those areas.
So I'll start with where we feel good. We've got some skill kids. Ben Wilson's returning, and he's probably going to go back to more of a skill position, which will allow Wes Stansbury to take over the reins at quarterback. We've got some good skill players. CJ Frescas is back, one of our dynamic slots. Again, Ben Wilson will be back at receiver. And we've got some kids that can really play on the skill side. We had some really young kids. We actually had 3 freshmen that played varsity this year. So those kids will all be back. So I think our skill kids will be pretty good. We have to replace some good linebackers, which we're right now trying to figure out some scheme-wise what we can do to lessen that blow. But, I think our skill kids are going to be pretty good. We might actually turn this year into a 7-on-7 year where it's, kind of like Friendship was last year, catch the ball and get it out. So I think we've got the kids for that, and so I'm excited for that.
And then obviously you'll never complain if you have too many offensive and defensive linemen. Is that where you maybe have a little bit more youth, where you're looking for some young guys to grow up a little bit?
So defensive line will return all 3.
Okay, that's good news.
Yeah, we're in an odd front, so we return all 3. We lose the linebackers, but we have a lot of the secondary backs, so it's kind of
the middle part.
We've got to fill that in. Offensive line is going to be a little bit of a rebuild year. We've got some kids that are going to be fighting for that spot, but we do lose quite a bit of our offensive line. We've got Jaden Dorman coming back, which at center is a good guy to have, but it's going to be weird up front.
So it's got looking for some young guys to grow up a little bit and get in that weight room, right?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Right. Now, final question for you. Overall, tell us, what, in your opinion, being an El Paso guy, what's the state of football in the 915 right now? I know it's always very competitive, especially in the 6A district, but I think also in that 5A D2 district, it's very competitive football there with Canutillo and Del Valle and those guys. Overall, just kind of your I know the playoffs didn't kind of go as well as everybody would hope out there, but know, that kind of fluctuates a little bit. So, for your perspective, where do you see the state of football in the Sun City?
You know, you're right. We took one on the chin in the playoffs, but it's a year to bounce back. And last year in 6A was a lot of young teams, so a lot of the kids will be returning back. So I look forward to the 6A being relevant in the playoffs again. And of course, over at Del Valle with Jake Fetty coming back, I mean, you can't count those kids out. And Coach Brooks always does a phenomenal job at KNTO. Chapin's going to have some kids coming back. Eldorado's having some kids coming back. So it's going to be a very interesting year, and a lot of kids coming back that can make some plays.
So we're going to have some senior heavy ball clubs in the Sun City. So looking forward to always competitive football out there. That's Mike Pry with the El Paso Coronado Thunderbirds. Coach, appreciate your time, and good luck in 2025.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. Thanks, Fry.